How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another gameplay review. Today we're playing against Kashtira, and before we begin, leave a thumbs up on the video, subscribe. We're almost at the 10K mark. Let's get to it. If you want 5% off any single or sealed product, head over to tier0games.com and use code GALZO5 at checkout. Alright, so today we're going to see another gameplay review in the new format versus Kashtira. You might have already seen the deck list, maybe not, but you're going to see it this week either way, even if you haven't, and if not, just check my profile and subscribe and hit the bell. Yeah, we're playing against Cash. They are playing the Raiders Wing variant, which is interesting. I'm not even 100% sure what it does. An Xyz monster whose original attribute is dark, and this has this as material. Cannot be targeted, so maybe they use this as targeting protection. They have Terraforming Raiders Wing, Kashtira, Rise Heart, Theosis, and Mourner, and I have Retribution, Opening, Lubellion, Deploying. So what I wanted to do here is you can, of course, fire off the deployment and pitch the Retribution, which is always a good thing, but I did want to play around, you know, Imperm, stuff like that. So while I already have the Fusion deployment, I know that's going to happen. So May 1, I go for that, pitch this, and I know this is going to be good because I'm going to, you know, get Serenir, pitch the Serenir in some other way, so that's going to be all right. Search for the Branded Fusion, and then activate the Lubellion. Now we're like, kind of like, you know, you don't want to do this, even though Droll might not be as prevalent in this format. Your first search must always be getting access to Branded Fusion. Because if you do this and get Drolled, you're screwed. But if you do this and get Drolled, you don't care because you're not going to be adding anything from the deck, basically, that has any significance to your plays. So Branded Fusion, I'm going for the Gimmick Puppet Lock here. You saw my video earlier this week, and this is a different line. It doesn't really requires Quem, because I already have this. So any access to Grand Guignol and Branded Fusion will do it. So yeah, Quem summons back the Cartesia, but if you already have Cartesia, that's, you know, that's game on its own. So yeah, we're just going to do that, banish these two. I didn't want to send Quem. This is why I play another Cartesia, because I want access to it, because it's the best way to get a Gimmick Lock. It's the most consistent way, so basically 5 copies with deployment. So banish with Albion. Now again, you always use Lubellion first. Get it for lost. Now you also have a negate, so you're going to have 2 negates basically after this. They don't use the Mourner at any point, and you're going to see why, because they think it does something else that it doesn't actually do. So I get Mercurier, send the Puppet, end phase, Cartesia back to hand. Cartesia back to hand, I usually, in my previous video, I said don't take the Cartesia into your hand, but that was with like a 2-card combo hand, like a fake hand. If you have setup, then yeah, I much rather summon the Aluber off of Albion and not the Cartesia. So the Cartesia can definitely come back to hand, just because we're going to end the turn with like 4 cards in hand, which is crazy. Set in red. The reason why I didn't set Retribution is because it's in the graveyard, unfortunately. Like here, you're supposed to set the Retribution, because if they have a Bestial, it will negate it, right? So you already have a negate. So they basically need to draw 2 interruptions to interrupt this play. Draw phase. We're not even scared of Gamma anymore at this point. Everything got hit. So they think they can Mourner their own Gimmick Puppet, which I think they can, because I special summon the monster, right? It doesn't have to be my monster, but I just have to special summon it. But unfortunately, you cannot negate the effect once it's summoned, right? Because if the summon was successful, then it doesn't negate it. So unfortunate, they are locked. But Kashtira can surprisingly play a little bit under Puppet, right? If they have access to Birth, they can just normal summon the Fenrir, and this can activate the effect. They choose to go for Grand Guignol. They cannot target this. So this is, again, a very good card against Kashtira as well. But they choose to attack the Grand Guignol because I think they have... Yeah, they gain 300 attacks, so they can get over it. They target the lost. I know that they already lost. Get what I mean? So I decided to negate it. Doesn't really matter at this point. Here, this game is really, really grindy and weird. So they have full combo here. They do what they do. And now you're going to see Kashtira not taking out cards of your extra deck. Who heard of that? So it's a pretty solid hand going second, mainly because of Lost in Deployment. So Kashtira, now they go for the Baron line here, which is very good. We're going to have to bait that out in order to get, you know, some sort of interruption in. But you can use deployment here to get Albaz and just fuse away, because if you bait this out, they're not going to have any more negates. So if you already have access to everything, so you have access to deployment, you have access to Cartesia, because Albaz is going to be on the field afterwards, even if it's negated, or if it's popped, it goes to the graveyard. And Foolish Burial gets you to Aluber, which is full combo, right? So you do have everything. So all you need to do is, again, as I said in the Labyrinth video, bait out as many interruptions as possible, and only then activate Branded Fusion, like as the last card. So draw phase, I know that the Baron is going to go off here, which means that they're not going to have any more interruptions at this point, which is great. So Baron is gone. Attach, summon Unicorn, main one, Branded Lost. So now they have to pop it, right? They have to pop it, basically. So they want to get more materials under Rise Heart, and then they can block another zone. But this is the new Kashtira. They didn't banish 8 cards off the top of my deck, right? Rise Heart is annoying. Just 3 cards for free for no apparent reason. It's really, really obnoxious. But now I have access to Branded Fusion. If something happens to the Albaz, it can't be banished face down. So Cartesia can come into play. I know that their hand is Rise Heart plus 1 card. So it's not really so menacing. And then the Serenir, since there's no graveyard right now, it's probably going to be just the discard. So this Albaz is going through. This has to be Chainlink 1, and then Albaz, Chainlink 2, because it's mandatory. They go to the graveyard. Now they get to activate Unicorn. They actually take out the Grand Guignol, which is a really good play out of them, because there is Dragoon here somewhere, right? But they do take out the Grand Guignol. I don't know why they did it. But now, on resolution, because a card was banished face down, they chain the Kashtira Shangri-La, and I'm going to banish this and get the Rinbrum. So the reason why I went for this is because I have an Albaz engrave, and I'm going to have cards in hand, right? So, yeah. On resolution, they pop my Mirror Jade, which kind of sucks, to be honest, because I wanted to push with it for more damage and possibly game. Now I'm going to have Branded Fusion. Basically it, but yeah, they're gonna get a board wipe. So I know that they have Rise Art and probably either a hand trap or like a dead card in hand. I want to go for the grind game, right? I want to kill them where it hurts the most, and the only thing that can pop the Birth right now is gonna be a very specific monster called Sprint, and this is why I run it. So yeah, they don't activate Birth here. I go for the Foolish, Tragedy, Search Aluber, now Blazing Cartesia, because I have an Albaz engrave, normal the Aluber, and now I just have to go for like full gas Branded Fusion, but it's not going to get me too far, because I don't have Grand Guignol anymore, right? I could go for Quertus here, make some damage, go for like a Branded Fusion Albion line, and banish another monster. It doesn't deal with the Birth. So I go for a risky play here. I use the Cartesia and the Albaz for Sprint. Now they fire this off. So yeah, that's why I didn't go for like the usual line, because they would have banished my Albaz and I wouldn't have been able to continue. And, you know, I couldn't really resolve anything else besides that. So this is why I went for this line specifically. And then I go for Sprint. I pop this column, right? Sprint, this is what Sprint does. Activates the effect. If it resolves, you move it to another column, pop all the face-up cards in that column. So I knew that his monsters were gone, so I wanted to take care of the Birth, and now let him top deck. We'll see how good his top decks are. So end phase, I go for this, and no interruptions. Basically, no interruptions at this point. This is game 2, so you know. They draw another Rise Heart. They don't have any good banish setup, so they can only bring back the Ogre. So they bring it back with Theosis. I lag out, so I'm trying to, I leave the game, I go back, and I try to move it a column just to see if cards are moving or if I'm totally lacking. I didn't put it back, but it didn't matter to the game state, so don't call me a cheater. They crash into the Aluber so they can summon the Ogre, and they actually play this really well. They put this in the Aluber column, so that I can't move Sprint and actually crash it. So preparations, just so you're aware, summons only from banished or hand, which they don't have any setup for. 2 unicorns, which is now semi-limited in the graveyard. I draw Shrouded, which does nothing. So I want to pop the Ogre, basically. So again, I go for the sprint play, pop this. They draw Mourner. We go into the grind. I don't have any more Cartesias. Albez is not going to give me anything here except for damage. So I decide to hold it, set it as a fake out. They draw into another hand trap, and then Aluber is going to be a bit too much for them. But again, Ash Blossom here works because they know I for sure don't have Brand Fusion. So the funny thing is that I actually missed game here, right? How do I have game with Fusion Deployment? Because I run Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, I still have a Dark Magician in the deck. So I just go Fusion Deployment, summon the Dark Magician, and attack for game right here. But I didn't, and thankfully they drew another hand trap. So I just did it again. I moved this so that if they activate it, then the next turn I can move it just to have it as a setup. Go for the Dark Magician and basically attack for game right here. So Dark Magician for game. We did go for another game right here, but I kind of lagged out because DB was kind of crappy. But again, I draw the Dark Magician. So yeah, this was the 2-0 versus Kashtira. Leave your comments and thoughts down below. This new format is super exciting. Also, check out my sponsor, sleeveschief.de. Link in the description below. 5% off. Beautiful accessories, beautiful oversleeves, border sleeves. Anything you want to pimp out your deck. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe. We're on the way to 10K. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.